All right, I think I might just get started. Okay, cool. All right. Hey guys, so thank you for joining us today for one of our webinars. I'm Sidipta, as you guys know. So at the moment, so we're at the points now that we've submitted our application and we've been taking it easy for a bit. So 31st of May, correct me if I'm wrong, but that was the date that applications were submitted, and I would assume that it was a pretty hectic time for everyone here. Just like putting those applications in. If you're applying to Wollongong, especially, you have to write a portfolio. Also Casper. Anyone applied to Notre Dame? And one person applied to Notre Dame. Can you type in the chat, how's your Casper experience? If it was a good experience, if it was a bad experience. When I did Casper, it was good. Okay, it was a smooth experience. That's good. That's really good. That's good to hear. When I did Casper, I just did 1 week of preparation, and I did okay. So it's hopefully, fingers crossed for you guys who've done Casper, that it's good. Different to previous years where they had video. Oh, okay. Oh, that's okay. That's good to know that things are changing for Casper. Yeah, maybe in future years they might make it a bit more implemented into applications. So let's see if it was good to do it this year. Then hopefully you don't have to do it in future years. But if you do, then it's not that bad. Okay, cool. So if you guys don't know who I am, I'm Sidipta. I'm a second year medical student at the University of Sydney. You might be wondering, why is a University of Sydney student doing an webinar on interviews when there's no interviews at the University of Sydney? Good question. Because University of Sydney wasn't my only application. I also put in a GAMSAT application, and I didn't know that I was going to get into use it until 10 days before my start date. So I put in my application, got an interview, and today I'm going to basically talk about that journey, just so that you guys can basically try and relate how to go about your own journey. A lot of the stuff I'll talk about today may not be highly relevant to you, but it may be a good sort of framework just to start thinking about interviews and whatnot. I also, within Frasers, I'm the control and quality and control lead. So what that means is that the tutors that you go to for interviews within Frasers, I basically make sure they're of the highest quality. Also, the program is of the highest quality as well. If you have any questions about the Frasers interview course, or any issues and you want to address want them addressed, just pop an email to me, or you can even find me on Facebook. Just send me a messages. If you want to rant about Frasers, you can definitely do that, and then I'll make sure that Fraser interview is of a better quality. Okay, let's get started. So what are we going to cover today? So like I said, we've just got out of the application period. Now we're going into the interview sort of season. So at the moment, a lot of students, you guys are doing uni at the moment. Maybe you've finished uni and you started working, but it's still that you're in that process right now that you have to think about, how do I go about interviews? So the people here today, are you guys in final year, or are you guys in honors? What stage of your university journey are you guys in? Okay, final year. That's yep, final year, postgrad. Yeah, so things are going to be pretty hectic around this time. So because you're in your final year, you guys know that your final year, it basically weighs the most in most of the applications. So you do have to smash it out of the park. But that doesn't mean that you don't have time to do interviews. It's a bit easier when you are taking a gap year or doing other stuff, but still you can make time to do interview prep. So it's good. So okay, so basically, this is the way that I've been going to go about today. So I'm going to talk about the 4 stages, and or it's technically 5, but the 4 stages. So I'm going to talk about orientating yourself. I'm going to talk about strategy, also in terms of practicing as well and how to practice. I'll also talk about refining your skills for interviews and how you're going to perform on the day. And this is like my framework, but this could be something that like it could be different to you guys. So time to set expectations, right? Now that like I've been saying, applications are finished, and you can't change what you've put in. You can't change like the preferences that you've put in, your GPA, your GAMSAT. Maybe you can change your GPA a little bit by doing better in your final year, but GPA you can't change completely. In terms of your GPA, if you guys didn't know that, they actually give you an interview based on your semester 1 GPA from your final year. So yeah, if you have finished semester 1, like medicine operates on a different semester, but if you guys have finished semester 1, I'm assuming you have, that GPA would be used for your final year grading, and then yeah, da da da. So you can't change much. Now what you can do is that you can look towards the future. And what's the future? Future is that there's a potential that you will get an interview. You might think, Sidipta, but I don't know if I'll get an interview. Why should I start now? Why should I start practicing for interviews when I don't even know if I'll get an interview? And that's a really good question because as we know from previous years, interview offers actually come out in September, and then you end up doing your interview in October, right? So why should I start doing stuff now when it's so much down the track? I don't have to think about any of them. And the reason is that it may be too late. And I in 2020, I keep bringing up 2020 because it was a horrible year. I was doing honors and I did the GAMSAT in May. I had a 56 GAMSAT and I was like, oh shit, I'm not gonna get anything. I'll just put this application in, but I don't think I'll get anything. I'll have a stab in the dark. And my GPA was abysmal as well. It was pretty low, and I thought I wouldn't get anything. And out of nowhere, I ended up getting a interview from Melbourne Uni, my top preference out of like anyone. I thought I was going to get something from Notre Dame because I had a good enough portfolio, and it was crazy. I only had 2 weeks to basically practice for interviews for Melbourne Uni. And as you guys know now, that with Melbourne Uni, the interviews have changed. They're not over Zoom. They're not in person. It's a one-way interview. So completely changing completely like trying to adapt to a new system and having 2 weeks. It was not going to work out for me. And as you guys know, if you have been in my previous webinars, I've said that on the day I basically struggled. I got into the first station, and the video was playing, and I was like, holy crap, I'm in an interview. And I just zoned out. I didn't hear anything that was said in the video. And then I had 1 minute to answer why I wanted to study medicine at the University of Melbourne. And it was so bad. Okay. Oh, there's a message in the chat. A few of the universities have moved the interviews back to end September, and some of them are back in person. Really? Okay. That's news to me, and that's good that you know that that's the case. Yeah, definitely shoot me a message, and I would love to have a chat with you about that. But yeah, that's really good to that's good to hear that some of the interviews are going back in person. So yeah, so I guess the moral of the story here is that don't start late, because if you start late, you're basically setting yourself up for failure. And this was me just before I got violated. I had a tie on. I did my hair. I was ready. I thought I was ready, but then I was not ready at all. I was sweating buckets. Now, to prevent that from happening to you guys, I would urge you guys to start early, and this is my 4-step plan for preparation for interviews. Now, this can be different for everyone here. It's not something that is like it can work for everyone, but do take whatever advice here that works best for you. Okay, so give me a second. Okay. So do you guys have any questions before I go into the 4-month plan? Okay, and also if you guys have any questions, please put it in the chat. If you want to turn your video on and also talk through the mic, just raise your hand and then we can talk as well. And also yeah, that's so yeah, any questions before I move through? Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure this webinar is as interactive as possible. So please stop me at any time if you have any burning question, and I'll stop and I'll answer your question straight away. Okay, cool. So the first step is orientation. So what does that mean? It basically means that you need to make sure you know which university you have applied to, and you basically get to a point where you know the ins and outs of the medical program. You know what you're getting yourself into. Medical school is a tough journey. Like being through the whole process, it can be really stressful. It can be one of those times where it can really change a person. So you should know what you're getting yourself into. And another thing you need to know is that what each medical school actually offers you. Is it a medical school that is right for you? Because even though a lot of us here will basically like take any medical school that comes our way, we do need to also realize that is the medical school right for us? Because if we can tell the medical school that they are a right fit for us, then they're more inclined to give us an offer after interviewing at that medical school. And yeah, like for example, right? My first preference was obviously Melbourne Uni, and I would have loved to go to Melbourne Uni. However, I got a interview off from University of Wollongong. Now, if I just basically researched about Melbourne Uni and everything that Melbourne Uni have to offer, I would have basically I wouldn't be prepared, because I would get, if I got the interview from Wollongong and they would ask you, so Siddhartha, why did you choose Wollongong? Well, why do you want to come here? Even though they gave you the offer for interviews there, they're asking you why you want to come here. It's a bit of a funny question to ask when they send you an interview offer there. So what I would say is that I would research every single medical school that I've applied to. So look at the curriculum, look at the structure of the program. And the way, like, every medical school has a different structure. So in terms of like, for example, Deakin University, even though Deakin University is including a little bit of clinical stuff in the early years, they're a primarily university that has 2 preclinical years and then 2 clinical years. Whereas, for example, University of Sydney, 1 year pre-clin, 3 years clinical. Why is that beneficial for you? Why is it beneficial that you have more clinical years than preclinical years? Why might it be beneficial that you have more preclinical years than clinical years? So that's sort of things that you need to sort of think about, right? Is the university research heavy? That's a big thing to think about as well, because with research, a lot of these universities, the rankings that come out, like for example, University of Sydney's ranking, they're number 1 in Australia. It could be education, but it's also research output. So eventually, when you guys become a doctor, you guys will be doing a lot of research, and saying that you're interested in research and being wary about what sort of research that university is putting out is vital for your interview application as well. Also think about rural and Indigenous health, especially rural. Rural is something that has been a big thing in the past couple of years in terms of taking in students, because let's face it, we have a rural crisis. There's not enough doctors going into rural places. Even though we have a lot of doctors coming into the system, not many of them want to go rural. And as a result, what the medical schools are, that one of the big tactics is that they want to take in students who are interested in working in rural or coming from a rural background. So highlighting your interest for rural is a big thing to talk about, and also just being cognizant about the rural problem. Also, Indigenous health as well. I'm not sure if anyone here identifies from an Indigenous background, but there is a lot of complexities related to Indigenous health that we should be wary of right now. Also, clinical facilities. This is a big thing as well. Like, for example, like University of Sydney has basically 5 to 6 different clinical schools, right? And each clinical school is in a different location. Now, why is that important to you? So those type of things you just need to be a bit wary of. Also, the hospitals as well. These things, like the reason why I've been mentioning the stuff about the medical curriculum is because universities want to know, how is their medical curriculum beneficial to you? How is this medical curriculum going to fit your type of learning, and how it's going to make you a better doctor? Any questions about that so far? No? Okay, cool. So also there's about cohort as well. So in terms of the cohort, there's a big thing about like the cohort size. So some universities have big cohorts, for example, University of Melbourne, UQ, but then there's some universities who have small cohorts, like University of Wollongong, or even Macquarie. Now, why is that important to you? Maybe a small cohort is better for your learning. Maybe a big cohort is really good because you're basically a social butterfly and you like to meet various types of people. Also, it could be you also want to work out what sort of students go to these medical schools. Like for example, for Melbourne Uni, right? Majority of Melbourne Uni students are from Melbourne, but there's a lot of them coming from, say, Sydney, a lot of them coming from interstate as well. A lot of international students are at UQ. That's another thing. So just having those sort of thoughts as well, and how is that going to impact how you learning in medical school? Also, what is the medical school best known for? I think that's a big thing that gets that is basically overlooked. For example, Notre Dame. Notre Dame produces ethical doctors. That's their whole brand that they would love to hear. And there's a big thing that you guys should probably know. There's actually a 2-week intensive, where they basically go through ethics, so through bioethics, and it's something that's very unique to Notre Dame, and not many other medical schools actually do that. And another thing about, say, Wollongong, for example, Wollongong has a big focus on rural. So that's their whole brand as well. So just thinking about the niches of each of the medical schools is a big thing. And that will basically show to the medical school that you know what you're getting yourself into. You are prepared to fit into their family for the next 4 years. Also, thinking about if the university has a panel interview or an MMI, there's not much difference in terms of figuring out if it's an MMI or a panel interview. The big difference really is that a panel is more of a personal thing. It's more of a traditional sort of interview where you're talking to a bunch of people and they're asking you personal questions, but they're still scenario questions. Whereas an MMI, you basically get moved across to different interviews at each station. So that's a big key difference. That might be of importance to you in terms of how you do your interview. But end of the day, you should be practicing both ways. Before I move into the next slide, any sort of questions in terms of orientation and orientating yourself for medical schools? If you guys also have any ideas as well that I haven't covered, I would love to hear them because I think everyone should know about them. Okay, so do panel interviews include more personal questions like why do you want to do medicine as opposed to scenarios? That's a really good question. So personally, I haven't done a panel interview, but I would assume it would be so. because the thing is that with MMI, there is a whole station dedicated to why you want to study medicine. How do you study? Would you be able to adapt to the studying environment when it comes to medicine? I think those things are covered in one station, right? But for a panel interview, I think there would be like a couple of questions regarding like why medicine and tell me a bit about yourself kind of thing. But after those questions are done, they're going to start moving on to the scenarios. They're going to start moving on to into different things. So that's the key really difference there. It's more of a structural thing rather than like one interview is just going to focus on everything just about you, like personal stuff about like why medicine, and then the other one's just it's not like that. It's just like they're going to cover both. They're going to cover the same sort of content. It's just a structural thing. Alrighty. Can you guys hear me properly? I just want to also make sure that you guys can hear me. Okay, cool. So I'll move on to the next one if there's no more questions. Now, this is the big one. This is the big one that I want to tell everyone today, and also like the people in the chat, after listening to my spiel about this, if you guys want to create your own sort of group chat, basically if anyone wants to like step up, either I could make a group chat for you guys, or you guys can make a group chat on your own, just like exchange details and then start doing this. So my big thing about interview prep is that you need to do it with other people. You need to do it with other people, because you cannot prepare for interviews alone. If like those people who have prepared for interviews alone in the past and have gotten in, they're basically gunners. Like I don't know, they probably have like figured out how to speak in the most eloquent way, and they're like moving through life on easy mode. But for us over here, it's like we need help. We definitely need help to get through this stage. And also, like, for example, like when I did interview training like in 2020, I was doing this alone, and there was no one there to make sure that I was accountable, and there was no one to lean on as well. So it was a pretty lonely process. Sorry, I'm about to cough. Oh my God. Yeah, I have a bit of a cold. So the moment I landed in Melbourne, I got a cold, which is great. Yeah, so please make a group chat. Please don't start this journey alone. You need friends to help you. And where can you find these friends? Where can you find people to do preparation with? I would hope that everyone has friends, and have people that are also doing the same sort of journey as you are. But if you don't, if you need to find people, you can find people in these places. So there's the Friends community, as you guys know of. There's also Reddit. So after today, what I would do, I would go on Reddit, go to the GAMSAT subreddit, just put a post up saying that, hey guys, I would love to start doing interview prep. Can we get a group chat up and running? If you do that, and you'll have tons of people wanting to join that group chat, and that group chat's going to be amazing. Like, you're going to be putting in resources there. It's going to be a lot of banter. There'll be people from like other states as well that you'll get to meet. It's great. It's an amazing sort of vibe. Also, Discord. There is a couple of Discord channels out there which are really amazing. There's tons of free resources on those Discord channels, and there's also people who do preparation on those Discord channels at the time. So definitely look for those. Also, go on Facebook, search up GAMSAT, search up medical interviews. I'm sure there will be someone who has made a group page with everyone wanting to do the same thing. But if these don't exist, and I doubt that they don't exist, just start your own one. And there's one person already in our chat who's ready to start a group chat. I hope they're proposing it. So yeah, and start one, and that's what I did. I so not last year, but the year before, when I was preparing for interviews, I was a student for phrases, but then with the phrases students, I made a group chat with them. But then I started adding in random people from everywhere who didn't do the phrases course, and that's fine. That's completely fine. It's okay to do preparation with other students who have different resources, because let's face it, phrase resources are great, but there's also different perspectives out there, which we 100% welcome. And that was helpful for everyone there. And we were basically practicing like every day, and we were doing these we were doing a lot of stuff. And by the end of it, most of us, like in this group chat that you see right now, most of us are now doing medicine because of this. And I would say, like, some people in this group chat who didn't get in, maybe it was for a bunch of different factors. It could be like on the day they basically stressed out, or it could be their GPA. Maybe it was a minor thing, but I'm 100% certain that the people who didn't get in, it wasn't because they practiced less, because that's the main reason. So there's just more stuff about like about practicing and strategizing. So once you have this study group up and running, what I would do is that I would start getting some like past interview questions. So phrase interview generator is a really good one. So like those, there's a free one on our website. What I did not last year, the year before, I basically would use that, try and answer those questions, and then I would basically reassess what sort of questions, what sort of stuff that I got wrong, and I would keep doing that. There's also a PDF, a free PDF on Paging Doctor called GAMSAT. It's been circulating around for like many years now, so definitely look into that. There's also Paging Doctor. So Paging Doctor also has past interview questions for different universities. And if you're like really good, you can find a lot of those. Just be wary though. Interview questions do change every year, but then there's some interview questions that do get repeated. It's not about like trying to get the same interview on the day. It's more about do you understand what you're trying to look for in terms of what you're answering, right? So if it's a why medicine question, the main reason it's a why medicine question is because they're trying to figure out if you're like if you have good reasons as to why you want to study medicine, and also are you a good fit for the university. That's the main thing, right? If it's an ethics question, like for example, if it's a question about autonomy, they're gonna try to figure out that, are you going to respect the autonomy of future patients? That's the main thing, right? So once you have these past interview questions, I would basically peruse these questions, understand what the stations are, what sort of questions will come up. I would also research the timings and the station types that will come up for each university. So this changes every year. So just be wary of that. But because like you'll never really know until the very last minute where like this is the timing for the university. But because it's been running for so many years, you sort of will have a good idea of what sort of timing they'll have. So for example, Melbourne Uni, it's 1 minute per question, right? For a whole station, if it's three to four questions, it'll be 4 minutes for a station. So just be wary of that. Also read up on on public health and the 4 pillars of ethics. Public health is a big one because like they want to figure out that you're basically in the know in terms of what are the public health sort of issues are out there. Like at the moment, a big one is vaping. Vaping may come up in your interviews. Just a word of caution. And I'm just predicting this will happen because at the moment the Australian government has put in a mandate to reduce vaping, right? So it could be like lack of packaging. So it's like plain packaging, reducing the flavors. So it basically what's the word I'm looking for? The word will come to me. But I think you guys get the point. Think basically researching about public health is a big one. Also, developing structures for your answer. I think it's a huge one that you can think about doing right now. So yeah, types of questions like, why do you want to study medicine? These sort of questions, you do need to think about how you're going to answer this. And a structure is very important because the thing with interviews is that when you answer a question, the interviewer needs to follow your train of thought. The way the interview is going to follow your train of thought is by just figuring out what your premise is, what your points are, what's your backing for those points, and then you're going to conclude that. That's a structure that I have been following for many years, and that's something that you guys can utilize as well. So you want to make sure that you're communicating with clarity and that the interviewer can follow your train of thought. So it's very important to start developing those structures right now. Also think about your personal anecdotes. So with anecdotes, there'll be like questions like, tell me a time when you have dealt with feedback, or tell me a time when you had to be honest with a person. These sort of things are those personal types of questions where it's really hard to think on like there and then to like think of a story that can back that answer. So if you can like think about some of those questions that may come your way, and then what sort of story that you have ready to basically blurt out, that would be really good. For example, right? Like qualities of a doctor. So what are some qualities of a doctor? A quality of a doctor would be leadership, right? A quality of a doctor is honesty, it's integrity. These sort of things, what I would do, I would basically search them up, get that list, and at each quality, I would try and figure out a story for that quality. And then you basically have a document of all your stories, and then you can just blurt that out on the day. After you've done all of that, and it's a lot of things to do in a month, you have to practice. Practice, 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 practice. If you don't practice, you're basically not going to be confident on the day, and you're basically leaving things to chance. Any questions so far on that, or has it been hard to follow what I've been trying to say? Okay, awesome. That's great. That's really, really good. Okay, cool. So now, oh, okay. All right, cool, cool, cool. So now that you've done all that, and this is more for the Fraser students, but this is also good for everyone else. I would book in your tutoring session late July. So you get 2 tutoring sessions through Frasers. I would book that in late July. After you've done all this, you need to get a check-in and figure out like, are you going about things the right way? Are you basically have like are your stories like perfect for your answers? What sort of structures you have? These are things you need someone to check out. If it's not Frasers, maybe it could be another tutor that you might find. It's very important that there is someone out there to basically check on your work, because like, let's face it, it might be different. So now that I've talked about all that, you might be thinking, Sidipta, how do I practice? What should I be doing? And this is my study process that I did 2 years ago. So what I'll do with the group chat, I would set up a Zoom meeting and I'll put it into the group chat. There would basically be a group chat leader or someone who will be taking care of this. And then once everyone is in the group chat, you would basically put everyone into breakout rooms. So there'll be one breakout room for general discussion where people are not ready to just start doing like questions straight away under time conditions. So they'll be just discussing questions. Then there's the other other breakout rooms, which will be just pairs. Now, this is high yield and it has worked so well. Last year, there was actually a friend of mine who did the same thing. He started up his own group chat. It had about approximately 100 people. He basically set all this up, and now this man is in medicine at Macquarie. So I can say it definitely works. So what do you do in the pair breakout room? So one person will be doing the questions under timed conditions. The other person will be basically simulating like it's a mock interview. They'll have the question up on their end from a screen share. So it could be the phrase interview generator. It might be a different resource. And then they'll be writing down what the other person's saying and then providing feedback at the end of it. This will go for approximately 20 minutes or 15 to 20 minutes. And then roles will reverse. The person who was giving feedback, then they'll end up doing one question under timed conditions. So this will basically what they'll be doing. And then this will go for an hour. So once this is all done, everyone's going to come back into the main room. Once everyone comes back into the main room, a lot of people will leave, and that's fair. But then those people who stay back, you'll basically then rotate with a different partner, and then you'll go through the process again. Why is this important? Because not only are you getting feedback from one perspective, but you're getting another perspective from another person. And then you're getting more practice from practicing with more people. Also, if it's people that you don't know, you're basically getting through those butterflies where you can basically talk to anyone whoever comes to you on the day. So this is something that I would highly recommend. And it really helped me because I got to talk to people from like Adelaide, from Queensland, people from Perth as well. And these are people like I've never met before. So like initially I was a bit scared. I was a bit like, oh my God, like what if this person thinks I'm a horrible person, and thinks that I have no chance at doing well in interviews. But that's the main thing, right? The other day, I actually learned something. The best way to learn is actually to embarrass yourself. That's the main thing, because once you embarrass yourself, you're going to remember that for the rest of your life, and you're going to associate that memory with what you've learned. So, and this goes for everything that you go through in life, even when you get into med school. So remember this: the best way to learn is to embarrass yourself. So now you're thinking this. You're like, okay, Sidipta, this process feels like the blind leading the blind. Why should we do this? And that's true. Like one person is like doing interview prep, and the other person is also doing interview prep, and now they're teaching each other when they both don't have the expertise to teach each other. Isn't that like, wouldn't you be setting yourself up for failure? And that's a really good point, because like, yeah, you want to get expert advice and you want to get tutoring for different things. Now, I want to introduce something to you guys called the fireman technique. And can you guys put into the chat if you know what the fireman technique is? Or is this the first time you've been hearing about it? Whilst I drink this juice. There we go. Yeah, one person has said you learn better by teaching. Amazing. Yeah, that's essentially what the fireman technique is. So I stole this from Google, but essentially what you do is that you choose to learn learn a concept. So for example, it might be the 4 pillars of ethics, and you can Google about the 4 pillars of ethics. You learn about what autonomy is, what beneficence, non-maleficence, justice. You learn about that, and then you try and teach yourself. Teaching yourself is a bit of a hard one. It's like you basically rereading something, you're sitting with the thought, and then try and figure out what it means. But if you can teach it to someone else, if you can actually explain what autonomy actually is, it means that you've actually understand it yourself. Now, if you can't teach it to someone else, if you think like, oh shit, like I don't know how to explain this part of beneficence, you basically go back to the source material, read it again, and then try and break it down to its bare bones, and then try and associate like sort of like explanations like that could like simplify the process, and then try again. And that's the same thing with interviews. you're learning about different things in terms of interviews, and then you're basically like you're basically teaching it to someone else, and then sorry, my throat's pretty bad today. Yeah, so you learn something, you try and test it out, and then you basically give feedback. That's the big thing about interviews. So this whole process of like one person doing things under timed conditions, that's them like basically embarrassing themselves and basically testing the waters if they're doing right or wrong. And then the other person who has read up on the content, has the structure, they then sort of learn from the other person in terms of their style, but then they can also then give basically help out and give their own style. So you're basically filling up the gap between the person putting themselves in the hot seat and the other person giving feedback. Does that make sense to you guys? Just looking for a yep in the chat. Yay. Okay, good. Okay, cool. So now that so now this is a really big thing, right? So you might have this question: how do we make sure that we're giving the right advice and learning the right theory for interviews? And this is a very good question, because like, yes, the fireman technique is very important, where you're learning stuff, you're then teaching it, and that's the best way to learn, right? But then how do you know that the source material that you're learning from is the best source material? And how do you know that you're actually giving proper advice? This is a good question. And the best thing that I can tell you is that you basically need tutoring. You need someone who has expertise in this field, someone who is able to basically tell you what's right or wrong. And it doesn't mean that you should basically replace this entire process of group study with just tutoring. I think that would be a disservice to you. I think it's better to sort of like figure out like, hey, Siddhartha, I'm actually doing it this way. Is this the right way to answer this question? I'll say yes or no, and then I'll explain why. And then you can actually use that, and then you can take that, and then you can teach another person that same concept. So places that you can get reputable information from. So for example, Interview Atlas, tutoring, workshops. Like, you've come to this workshop, and it's the first step to do that, right? And also mock interviews. Mock interviews are a basically the best thing that you can invest in. If it's not phrases, if it's somewhere else, just do them. Okay, so now that you have gone through like the whole process of strategizing and starting your practice, you have the group chat, you're now practicing nonstop, and you're doing amazingly. Now we've come to August, and this is where you start refining your methodology. And one thing I just want to mention to you guys: guess how much I practiced 2 years ago, and when did I start and when did I finish? I'm looking for a number. All right, so one person said started in July, finished in September, practiced at least once a week. Someone said every 2 weeks. All right, so this was my schedule, and I was a bit of a nutcase because I really wanted to get into medicine, and I was pretty upset after 2020. So I basically did the GAMSAT, did my application, and then I started my PhD in April, and I was doing PhD stuff. I started in June, and I practiced every single day until the last week of September. So this was my schedule. I would go to the office at 10 a.m., do my work. I'd finish at 6 o'clock from the baker, and then I would come back at 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock to 9 o'clock, I would do interview prep on Zoom, and I would be the person with the Zoom link. So I would make sure I'm there make sure I'm starting it up 7 to 9. I'll do interview prep, and then 9 to 10 I would go to the gym, and that's what I did for like every single day for 6 months. And even though I'm saying this to you guys, I don't want to overwhelm you. This is not advice. Probably shouldn't do it because you'll burn out really quickly. But that's what I did. And towards the end, approximately a week before the interview, I did a mock interview with a different company, and I did so badly. I've been practicing for 6 months, but I did so badly, and my morale went down. And then I realized that I actually practice way too much. I'm at the point where I'm burnt out, that I've practiced that much over the last 6 months, that for the next couple of days before my interview, I just took it easy. And I didn't do much. I just read through a couple of things, but I didn't do that much. And there's actually another funny story that if I have time, I'll share, that happened 2 days before the interview. But yeah, that's what I did. Okay. Yeah, Med Mentors are like 100% check out Med Mentors. I forgot to mention them in this slide, but yeah, definitely check out Med Mentors. This is something that I actually did mentors in my time as well. They've been helpful. The thing with mock interviews is that there is phrases, but there's also other like places to do mock interviews. Everyone has different perspectives, and everyone has different like interview questions as well. So it's really good to sort of get a sort of a global view of what could come your way. So that's a big thing that I would 100% recommend. And thank you for the person who has brought that up. So okay, so now you're in August. You continue to practice. You continue to correct your methodology, and yeah, don't practice too much. Like the person who said every 2 weeks or once a week, I would probably do that now that I look back. But if you want to practice a bit more, you can. But practicing too much can make you sound a bit too rehearsed or authentic, and we don't want that. We want to make sure that we are flexible and creative when it comes to interview questions coming our way. But we don't want to come across as rehearsed. Unfortunately, for Y medicine, it has to be a little bit rehearsed. But medical school will find a way to ask you in a different way. So be wary of that. There was one year a university asked in terms of like, oh, once you got into medical school, how are you gonna keep up with your hobbies? So like that. Okay, so now also review the tactics for university timings and stations. So in terms of like the different interview offers, like think about like what the timings are, right? So for example, I thought I was going to get an interview from Melbourne Uni, so I was practicing answering questions in 1 minute straight away. But then once I got University of Wollongong, I had more flexibility. So I had a way to I basically could answer the question in 8 minutes, and that was great. Things didn't change that much for me. The structure was still the same. The content was still the same. It was that I could speak for a bit more. And now mock interviews, as the person who's been talking about Med Mentors, definitely check out Med Mentors, but also check out other places as well, which is great. Now, mock interviews were amazing for me. I got to do two mock interviews, and then I did like 2 other mock interviews, one from another company that I won't mention, and it was also Med Mentors, and they all gave really good feedback. And once you're in a situation where you're like you're basically stressing yourself out, and it just feels too real, and also, like, let's be honest, you're putting in a lot of money into sitting a mock interview. You want to make sure you do well. The stress does get to you, and it does feel like you're like in the real thing, and that's really good because you're simulating the whole experience. And the really good thing about the mock interview at the end of it is that you get solid feedback, and with solid feedback, you can then go back to your tutor or your friends and then go through that feedback and figure out where you need to, like, what do you need to change, and what things you have been doing well. And this is my last point of this slide. Book in your second tutoring session and don't leave this late. I've had so many students last year that booked their tutoring session late, like 2 days before the interview, 3 days before the interview, and by then, like I try my best to help these guys out, but and then end of the day, it's too late because like I can give you structure, I can give you feedback on the types of questions you can do, but you basically need time to implement that feedback and then practice with your friends. All right, cool. So and I'm wary of time. I'll stay back for a bit longer if you guys want to ask questions. But yeah, I'll keep going. So this is so September, refine and good luck. Interviews are this month. You're at this point, you're a beast. You can answer any sort of question that comes your way. You know exactly what to say. Your timings are impeccable. Your structure is great. You're basically, if you were to do the interview now, you would ace it, and then you would get into medical school, and then Fraser the interview will be coming to your doorstep wanting to hire you. That's how amazing you would be. But before you do that, just take it easy for a bit before you interview. Don't burn yourself out. And that's what happened to me. I burnt myself out. And I realized that I burnt myself out. So I took it a bit easy. So do practice, but practice until a week before the interview, just so that you are like confident on the day. Now, on the day of the interview, stay calm. Biggest advice, stay calm. You know your stuff, you know everything. The best thing is to stay calm. And this was me on the day of my interview. As you can see, I didn't have a tie on. My hair, I tried to fix my hair, even though it was like COVID and I haven't left the house in like many months. And I was in Melbourne as well. So it was like horrible, right? You can see how relaxed I was, right? So and on the day, I remember like I got into the interview for Wollongong, and I saw like a couple of people who were already there with me. There was this one guy. He basically had a suit on. He had a tie. He combed his hair. Like he looked like a prep boy, right? He was ready to get in and do interviews, but you could see that he was very scared, and it was very like he was about to erupt. Like that's what he looked like. And I remember I made a funny joke of when we were in the main room about him just being like me not having a tie and everyone else having ties. And like and the reason why I couldn't make those sort of jokes is because like I was calm. I wasn't cocky. Like cocky and confident are two different things, but I was able to crack jokes on the day of my interview, and not many people can do that. So just be wary of that. Like think about like this is just another one of those Zoom sessions where it was one of those like Zoom sessions where like you're doing your interview preps, and now you're basically doing the real thing, but it's going to be smooth sailing. So months later, when I was driving to my my lab, I was like that morning I just knew the medical offers were coming out, and I wasn't 100% certain if I would get anything. Like I knew it was a good interview, but I was just like crossing my fingers and toes. I was driving to my lab, and I saw that the group chat, which I like these guys who I was practicing with for 6 months, it was going off. I was getting hundreds of notifications of people getting in, and I had to stop the car, and I saw my email, and this was in my inbox, and I was over the moon. I was so happy that I ended up getting this offer. And the thing is that like this was because I basically started practicing from day one. I knew what I was doing. I knew that I had to get all these resources. I had to practice with people, and I was prepared for the day. And yeah, it was like till this day, it was one of the best moments of my life. I would say hands down. And then 10 days before starting at Wollongong, I ended up getting from UCID, and that's a story for another day. So this is just a summary of everything that I've gone through today. So first of all, orientate yourself. Orientation is a big one because you need to look at what sort of questions will come up. Also, writing down like what's like ideas for those questions. Having a Word document of everything that you've gone through is really good. Having like your free resources is also good as well. Also, investing in tutoring, whether it be Phrases or someone else. I definitely would highly recommend investing right now. Like for example, at the moment at Phrase, we're running our workshops, which are very good, which supplements your theoretical learning. So look into that. Also strategizing, just figuring out your structure for each of the questions, practicing your structures, figuring out what's the best way to structure for particular types of questions, whether it be ethics, whether it be personal questions, whether it be public health, and those types of questions, right? Practicing is the biggest thing that you could do with any of this, right? How do you practice? Get onto a group chat, get onto a Discord channel, get onto the community, get onto something where you can practice your skills with someone else, and then that person has the ability to give you feedback for your answers, and then you can then end up giving them feedback as well. So that's the big thing. And then also refining. So make sure that you're applying the feedback you're getting. So in terms of the feedback you might get it from your peers, but also from expert resources. So Phrases, tutors, could be me. So if you guys ever want a tutoring session with me, you can reach out to me as well. Also, think about the universities as well, specific questions that some universities will ask. Like, for example, Notre Dame will have picture questions, or like Wollongong will ask about scenario questions, like these sort of stuff, right? And then build confidence on the day. That's a big thing. You want to be at that point where like nothing will phase you, and whatever happens will happen. Like that was my mindset. Like I have done an interview before. I will go in and do this interview. If I get in, I get in. If I don't, cool, I'll just keep going about my life and doing my PhD or whatever you're doing. And I think a big thing with like interviews and the majority of people that have gone into med school is that they've gotten to a stage in their life that like they're okay if they don't get into med school. And then once they get into med school, it's like a huge like surprise to them that they've actually gotten in. So yeah, that's like the big thing. So alrighty. And then this is a final slide. Start your prep early. Think about the interview objectively. It's like the GAMSAT, so think about it objectively. Also, think about starting early, and also the diversity, and don't do it alone. I think it's a big thing. Like I've been saying this entire webinar, don't do it alone. All right, questions. So I will stay back for 5 minutes. If there's more questions, I'll stay back for longer. So keep your questions coming my way, and I'll answer them. And if you guys want to even turn on your mic and speak, that's totally fine as well. All right. Can I ask a question? Why you chose UCID over Wollongong? That's a great question, and I think the big thing for me is that I wanted to come and see my family. So with universities, like you want to be around your support system. You want to be around your friends and family, because medical school is such a stressful journey. And even though it's a rewarding journey, it's a stressful journey. And that was a big factor for me. I basically, if I could be in Sydney, I can fly to Melbourne anytime I want. And behold, I'm in Melbourne right now. So I decided to choose based on that. I looked at curriculum as well. I looked at like, is Wollongong better than UCID, or is UCID better than Wollongong? End of the day, they were very similar curriculums. Clinical, like Wollongong has 1.5 years pre-clin, whereas UCID is 1 year pre-clin. And then Wollongong has those phases that takes you into rural from phase 2 onwards, whereas UCID third and fourth year you can choose to be rural. So there's those like niche things that each university has, but Yeah, I chose Sydney mainly based on like the ability to go back to family and also just being in the city as well, and doing stuff. But Wollongong's a great university, and if I didn't get the UCIT offer, I would have stayed in Wollongong. All right. Someone asked, is Melbourne Uni 8 stations, 4 questions per station, 1 minute reflection time followed by 1 minute answer answer time per question? Um, okay, yeah, this is a very specific question, and at the moment, I am having a mind blank in terms of answering that. But from my experience, when I did the Melbourne Uni interview, stations have changed. Like they keep changing every year. Sometimes they implement more stations and less stations. But in terms of the reflection time, you don't really get reflection time. It's more like they give you the scenario, or they give you the question, and then you're basically reflecting, or you're trying to figure out your answer at that moment, and then you end up answering the question straight away in 1 minute. So you don't really get reflection time. You just have to go straight off the bat and go into answering that question. And then there's follow-up questions. So the next question, you'll have 1 minute to answer that question as well. So yeah. Could you please say out loud the most important questions of an interview and what would be the structure, which one should invoke to? I would love to answer that question, but I unfortunately can't answer it in a webinar because I signed an NDA. Maybe you can book a session with me and we can chat in private. Um, are you answering? Sorry, are you enjoying medical school so far? I'm enjoying it. It's been great. There are some tough times, and because like it's a stressful course, and you do have to make a lot of sacrifices when it comes to medical school. For example, like a lot of my friends, I haven't seen in 6 months, ever since I moved to Sydney. So this last 2 weeks, I've just been every day just been meeting friends. But in terms of medical school, I do enjoy the ability to talk to patients, to take histories from them, figuring out what sort of perspectives like they're coming from, like what sort of what their history is. I think I really love enjoying that. Love enjoying hearing from that about that. I also I do enjoy some of the teaching as well, like learning about different things. Like for example, last year we did my favorite block was cardio block, and just learning about like the different diseases in terms of of cardio, like endocarditis, heart failure. Like for example, like if you see a patient with swollen legs, and if you press on them, it's something called pitting edema that happens, and then there's and if they have like shortness of breath, that might be an indication of heart failure. And that's such a cool concept. And then in medical school, you sort of you learn about why those things lead to heart failure and why those are the symptoms. Also, you can learn about the different medications as well, which basically can treat that. So it's all very holistic, and I really love that sort of part about medical school. The best part about medical school I also enjoy is AMSA, the Australian Medical Students Association. And once you get into medical school, look into AMSA and go to the conventions if your medical school allows it, and meet as many medical students as you can. Those people that I practice with in the group chat, I'm still friends with them till this day, and I got to meet them last year at AMSA convention, like people from Perth, people from Adelaide, and it was a great experience. Yeah, cool. All right, so I hope that answers your question. All right, so why medicine? Oh, I'm so tired to answer that question, but in a future webinar, actually the next webinar is a live interview webinar. So I'll be prepared to answer that question once I go there. But just to summarize why I wanted to do medicine, is mainly because of the holistic aspect of medicine. Medicine is one of those careers that's very versatile, where you can do multiple different things. Like you can go into practice, but you can also decide to go into the health industry. You can go into med tech. You can go into various different things. You don't have to be a traditional doctor. That's a big thing for me. And also, like you're basically a leader. Like I remember during COVID, I like every day I would wake up at 11 o'clock to see Brett Sutton on TV talking about COVID, and that was an inspirational moment for me. And I wanted to be I wanted to be him. I was like, holy crap, this person is talking about like he's basically spitting out so much wisdom, and people are actually listening to him as well. And you'll realize once you become a medical student or once you become a doctor, your words carry value. Your words are influential, and you have this power, this responsibility where you can make a difference with the knowledge that you've been bestowed on you, and yeah, you can make a difference. And I want to make a difference with medicine, and that's why I'm here. Any more questions, guys? All right.
All
I
good,
think.
thank you.
Oh, I heard a voice. Is that a thank you or a question?
I think all good, thank you. Yeah.
Okay. All right. No worries. No worries. Okay, I will wrap it up. Oh, okay. Would anyone be interested? Actually, what I'm gonna do is the people who are here, I might actually start up the group chat and then you can start adding people. So if you guys want to, you can message me on Facebook. So this is my Facebook. I might just. So that's my Facebook. Just send me a message. I might start a group chat with everyone here. And if you guys want to email me as well, this is my email. So that's my email. So yeah, just send me a message or send me an email. Also, I'm sure the QR code is the link to the Phrases community. So sign up for the Phrase community. It's a free resource, and then you can basically put into the Phrase community if anyone wants to start up a group chat, and then yeah, you'll find people there as well. So yeah, you could do that. But yeah, I think the best places to ask for to make a group chat is Reddit. I think that's a great place to find people. Also Discord. Discord is another great place to find people who do interview prep.
Is there a certain subreddit?
Yeah, so it's GAMSAT. It's the GAMSAT subreddit. So if you just search up GAMSAT, you'll find it.
Okay, and I sent you the thing, the Facebook message.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you. And this will be uploaded on the community, right? This meeting.
Yes, and it should be uploaded on YouTube as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Thanks, guys. You guys have been amazing, and yeah, hopefully I get to see you guys in a interview or a mock or a private session, or maybe in med school even. Thank you, guys. See you soon. Bye.